It's honestly crazy how like similar we both are, like down to like we have like similar tattoos in the same exact spot. Basically, he had been on my block list for like 6 years due to my ex.
When you know how to make yourself happy and you work on yourself and you wake up every day like, hey, I like the guy I see in the mirror, which I never thought I would find, then I feel like you don't really need validation from anybody else because you're like, I'm just happy.
The biggest flex is having a hot ass girlfriend.
If you're really into what you're doing, like you don't have time to be like, you're so in your head and you're like, all these things are processing in your head and you're so like internally thinking about how you're going to make it work and you're busy actually doing it rather than talking about it, you know?
Once you do cross the line of like going into nudity and going farther and farther, it's like everybody keeps pushing you more and more. There's a lot of girls who are, you know, just turning 18, 19, like wanting to get into like the porn or adult entertainment industry and are so unaware of so many of the things that do go on.
Sometimes haters are the best motivator.
The reason why my past relationships didn't work out was because I want to be able to do what I want to do. I want to live my life the way I want to live. So when I saw her, I'm like, yes, this is the woman that I want. Someone that has confidence, someone that does whatever the fuck that she wants to do.
Welcome to Unattainable. Glad to have you with us. I'm your host, Zach Evans. And first of all, thanks to all our listeners. We've been getting a ton of growth over the last couple months, and we got to thank you guys for that. Today, we got a couple special guests on the show. This is Angela and Jake. Why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourself? We'll start with Angela.
So my name's Angela Mazzanti. I am a content creator on Instagram and TikTok and in the cannabis space. And then I do OnlyFans and I have a clothing brand called Nowhere Fast.
Sheesh.
Awesome. And Jake?
My name is Jake Shipwreck. I own 4 barbershops and I create TikToks and Instagram videos with my girlfriend.
Awesome.
Pretty much.
And did you guys meet through the influencer space kind of thing?
No.
Sort of, but not really.
Okay.
I mean, we've known about each other for like a really long time.
Yeah.
But I would have to say what brought us together was, you know, we're old fashioned, so what brought us together was Tinder.
Yeah, surprisingly.
No way.
You know.
Interesting. But it's crazy that you guys are kind of very much in the same field where it's this, you know, knowing how the algorithm works and building your business and building your brand online and stuff like that.
It's honestly crazy how like similar we both are, like down to like we have like similar tattoos in the same exact spot that like we didn't know each other when we got them to like our businesses.
Or really know anything about each other because she had me blocked for like 4 years.
Yeah.
Blocked. Okay. Hold on. What's the story behind this?
So, okay, do we get into like the whole...
I mean, not specifics, but we can get into it, yeah.
Yeah, so basically he had been on my block list for like 6 years due to my ex. We had like locked eyes at a crosswalk from this barbershop he used to work at and saw him a little bit after that liking all over my Instagram. My ex didn't like that so much because, I mean, look at him. And
Obviously a threat. Huge threat, so...
I guess, yeah. At the end of the day, yeah, I guess I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, good looking guy, tattoos, bad boy look, you know?
Yep. And then, so yeah, I blocked him. We had like come across each other too, like at the gym and random places and just like ignored each other.
Yeah, and then she did like a photo shoot with one of my exes.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like hired her for a photo shoot, and those pictures are still like everywhere, so we still have that. But, and then I became single for a while, and I was single for probably like a year. And then she became single, and that's when I saw her on Tinder. Yeah. And then super liked her, and then
I saw it, and I was like, "This motherfucker."
You're like, I remember.
And then I was like, "This bitch."
Was your opener? Hey, why am I still blocked?
I think it probably was one of my openers.
You got into like that pretty quick because I then went on my block list, and I was like, "All right, like I'll unblock you now."
Mm-hmm. But the moral of the story is that we had no idea like what each other had been up to for like 6 years, like 4, you know, like, so it's like one of those things where we didn't even know that, like, I didn't even know she had a clothing brand. She didn't know that, like, I was like getting the same tattoos as her, as like vice versa, you know. So it's weird that we've kind of been living like this parallel life without even knowing it, you know.
That is crazy. Do you guys believe things happen for a reason? Like the universe
100%
brought it together?
Yeah, and at the right time too.
Yeah. Because I feel like this is too big of a coincidence.
Yeah, and if we had met like earlier, like I would have fucked it all up by now for sure.
Same.
I had to like learn some crazy shit, you know, before I got a real one, you know.
No, I did the same thing, man. I went through a very long fuckboy phase.
Oh yeah.
And then finally kind of graduated from that, and you know, it was fun for a while, but also
a lot of fun.
there's a lot of also like doing it for insecurity and validation reasons for sure.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's all it is, bro. Like everybody wants to be like, we all want that validation, right, from somebody, but hey, after a while, you're like, I don't need that. When you know how to make yourself happy and you work on yourself and you wake up every day like, hey, I like the guy I see in the mirror, which I never thought I would find. Then I feel like you don't really need validation from anybody else because you're like, I'm just happy.
I agree. And it's also, how many times do you have to fuck some girl and then tell your friends you fucked the girl and then feel cool and like eventually you tell your friends and like you realize nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah, no one cares.
Literally nobody cares that you fuck some hot chick.
It's cool when you're like, it's cool when you're like 24, 25, like, but then you're like, I'm like a 30-year-old man with businesses and I'm telling my homies and they're like, they start looking at you like, okay, like what the fuck, aren't you supposed to have like let's talk about your credit, like what like we're supposed to talk about. So
I also think it's a bigger, like back in the day in my 20s, I would probably thought the biggest flex is like, oh, every night you have a new chick, right? But now I think the biggest flex is having a hot ass girlfriend, because then it's like, oh, it wasn't just she was drunk at the time and horny and you guys whatever smashed. It was like, oh no, she like fucks with you because you got your shit together, you're successful, blah blah blah, XYZ reason, you know.
Especially just like not even just like having a hot partner, but like having a hot partner who's driven, who has like the same goals as you do, the same ambitions. Like that's hard to fucking find.
Yeah, for sure. Especially in LA where it's everybody has fake ambition, you know.
Oh yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we're literally just talking about that on the drive.
How like fake LA in general just is.
Or how horrible it would be to date like inside of LA.
Yeah.
Because I've always dated outside of my state. Like I was like, oh, I'm gonna get someone that's not even in California. And she said that she's never really dated too many people inside of LA. So
yeah. So how did you, I'm curious about your guys starting your businesses and stuff. You guys are both very successful, crushing it. You got 4 locations, right, for your barber company, and then huge following. Obviously you huge following, fashion brand, everything else. So like, we'll start with you. How did that all start?
So I've been in like the modeling industry, especially in like the tattoo space, for like 12, 13 years. And I've modeled for like every alternative kind of brand that there probably is out there. I got really tired of like modeling for everybody else and not having like something of my own. And then especially when I had like started my OnlyFans, I had so much like income coming in that I was like, what do I do with this instead of just wasting it on stuff? So I started investing that money into a clothing brand that like was my vibe, that like I wanted to pursue with like girls that I know like every influencer, I feel like at this point. So having like that huge, massive amount of girls, my clothing brand, I was like, why not? And then where I really found my footing though was doing it in the like festival industry. So doing large scale metal festivals with my clothing brand has like been where I've seen the most success.
Awesome. And how did you figure out, because when I look at like your page, right, or in even just like how you look, you understand personal branding better than probably most people who go to school for business or something like that. Like, did you go to school for this? Did you just figure it out? Was it just hard work? Do you have a mentor? Like, how did you kind of put the pieces together?
No, I mean, like, I have a lot of friends in the industry, so like you learn like what to do, what not to do from a lot of other people, but I've really taught myself majority of this like on my own, because like when I started doing Instagram and social media, there wasn't really like a guideline of like, this is how you do it. It's just like you start figuring it out as it comes. Like I went to school originally I wanted to be a cop, and I joined the Air Force and was in the Air Force for like 2 months, if that, and was like, all right, I don't want to do this. Got out and was like, I really don't know what I want to do with my life. And I ended up getting posted shortly after that on this website called Is Anyone Up? I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
I'm not, no.
So there used to be back in the day, like when like MySpace was a whole big thing, there was this website called Is Anyone Up? And you could, I guess like essentially like post somebody's nudes on there to like slut shame them or whatever. Like you could put bounties out for people that were also in, like, say you wanted to see Jeffree Star's nudes. Post like, hey, who has Jeffree Star's nudes? There would be like a bulletin. People would post that.
A bulletin.
Yeah.
It's like big,
back in the
it's like
day.
big.
Yeah.
This was like more like, because we both are from like the metal like emo kind of scene phase, so it was like big within that community, like dudes in bands and shit like that.
So yeah, you could see like any band member's dick. You could see like any scene girl's tits. So I ended up getting posted on there. And
by me.
Yeah,
No, I'm just kidding.
right.
That's the real reason.
That's the real reason. No, I'm just kidding.
And that's what kind of like started my like dive into social media. I was like getting a lot of followers, obviously a little bit of hate too, but you run with it. You're like, all right, like started doing modeling after that, and then just kind of all started happening after that.
Up and up from there. Yeah. And LA, because I'm from Wisconsin originally, and like I went to school for music originally, and it's just like LA, you will just meet people randomly at some party, and they're just like, oh yeah, like I have like 2 million TikTok followers, I have this, it's like great, where you like you live in a different state, like it's not gonna happen, like so the opportunities are there, but you also capitalize from the standpoint of like you're doing shit, you know, where some people will network and tell you about their new crypto app that they're going to start. We're looking for investors, and I'm like, but you haven't done anything, like you haven't put in the work, but you're trying to pretend like you're like a little, you know, all the way up here, but you guys are actually, you know, putting in the work, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, literally, like right before we came here, I was working at one of my shops covered in fucking drywall, like putting up lights. You know, I'm a firm believer in you don't talk about something until it's done.
Yeah, I like that.
Shut the fuck up. But it's not like I'm like going around like, just work in silence. Like, if you're really into what you're doing, like, you don't have time to be like, you're so in your head, and you're like, all these things are processing in your head, and you're so like internally thinking about how you're going to make it work, and you're busy actually doing it rather than talking about it, you know? So especially when you talk about earlier, when you get older, it's like, you just learn these things. Like when motherfuckers are just talking, or when people are actually doing it, they're not gonna really be talking about it that much, you know?
Yeah. And then your bullshit meter gets finely tuned in LA.
Yeah.
You can figure it out.
Yeah,
you're like,
exactly.
nah, you're full of shit. You're full of shit. All right, this one's a real one. You can
exactly.
We come to learn too, like the people who like, I don't know, you can't like say you're going to do something because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know like what life is going to throw at you sometimes. And like, let's say you're like blowing up this whole idea of like, I'm going to do this, and this, and then like something happens in life and you can't. So it's like, unless you like actually take the time to do it, and then once you've done it, then talk about it.
And it's cool like us being together, because she'll have like this huge opportunity coming her way, and then we'll both collectively agree like, okay, shut the fuck up. Like, don't say shit.
Yeah. Don't
tell
anybody.
anybody. And she's like, yeah, no, I'm not going to fucking say anything to anybody. I'm like, yeah, don't. And then when it pans out and we iron everything out, then drop it. You know, until then, I just like, it's just funny that we both like, yeah, okay, shut the fuck up. Now, like, you got the opportunity. It's here. When it's signed, sealed, delivered, then we can tell people about it.
Yeah. And then it's almost better because you get the surprise factor, you know?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, wait, what the fuck? You're doing this? You know, it's kind of big time news at that point.
Yeah. Nowadays, too, I think you even have to be careful by like, who you tell certain things to, even if it's like wins or like business stuff. Like, no.
Yeah.
Be careful.
For sure. How was when did you start on OnlyFans and start that?
So I started in like 2020 when like the pandemic was
perfect time to start.
Yeah. I started seeing all my friends on there, was hearing about how much they were making. Like all of them were influencers, and like I've been posting like lingerie pics and bikini pics and stuff for so long. I'm like halfway there, like, you know, why not do it? But I really feel like I've geared my page in like a really good direction, because I actually don't do nudity on my page for myself. But I do.
On your OnlyFans or on your Instagram?
On my OnlyFans.
Really? Interesting.
But I do a lot of like fetish-based content that's like very particular. So I do like a lot of dominatrix work. And I feel like I've really set myself up in a good space to not do it. And not that there's anything wrong with like, you know, anyone who does anything on there. But it's just such a fine line, because once you do cross the line of like going into nudity and going farther and farther, it's like everybody keeps pushing you more and more. Whereas like now everybody's just waiting to see like, when am I going to see a titty? When am I going to see her like get railed by her boyfriend? Like, when am I going to see this? It's like teasing that
it's
almost too.
Holding back. And that it is interesting, because probably if you were like, all right, next Friday I'm dropping the first nude, you'd probably make a ton of money off of that. Oh yeah.
It's like when we both decided that, or when we both, for the first time that we posted anything together on it, was like a huge month for her, you know?
Crazy.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Were you just like, did you just see the checks start coming in like, what the fuck? There's this much money on here?
Literally took a vacation right after that.
Yeah.
I bet. Yeah, it's interesting. So I worked in the modeling industry for about a decade, and we started off in like the fashion modeling space. And then we started moving more toward like the influencer side of things. And toward the end, like it was just incredible to me how much more money there is in both the influencer space and OnlyFans than in like the fashion world. And I'm just like, I don't know how these fashion companies are still in business, like the fashion modeling like agencies and stuff like that, because I'm like, there's just not that much work out there. You know, now AI models are going to be a thing. It's like, but the influencer space, the OnlyFans space is still very much popping off.
Sex sells, man.
Yeah. It's the truth.
I heard it as a kid. I never really quite grasped it, but sex sells, dude. I think that's very evident, dude.
Well, and just like the porn industry in general, it's so massive. Like, people have no problem paying for that kind of stuff. And especially when you can see your favorite creator, like, doing whatever, making fun of whatever kink you have, like degrading you, whatever the case is, you know?
Yeah, I remember when it first came out, I remember thinking, nobody's going to pay for this. There's so much porn online for free. And then it just blew up. And now I do get it. When I like look at kind of like the marketplace and it's like, yeah, people, yeah, there's free stuff everywhere, but people want to see their favorite influencer. Oh, this specific girl, especially if you know how to like chat and like talk in the DMs and everything like that. I see why it happens. I also think that it's a huge positive in the adult space from the standpoint of, I've heard so many horror stories from the porn industry of like, oh yeah, I came in to do this and then they pressured me to do more. I didn't want to do it. But then they said, oh, well, the gigs might dry up if you don't do this crazier thing. And then people do things they don't want to do, where OnlyFans, you can do whatever the fuck. You don't even, you know, get nude, and you can just choose whatever level that you want to go to, you know?
Yeah, I think it's really important too for like, you know, there's a lot of girls who are, you know, just turning 18, 19, like wanting to get into like the porn or adult entertainment industry and are so unaware of so many of the things that do go on. Like I was just, when we were at AVN last weekend and talking to some of the girls, and they were telling me like, yeah, some of these companies they scam these girls somehow and tell them like, oh, this is how much you're getting paid. And it'll be like somebody casting other people, and they take a percentage off of that without the girl knowing, or just like, and they think, oh, cool, like I'm getting paid to do this, but they could be making more, or I don't know, they just use them because they're so unaware of like what's really going on in the industry, or like, you know, what they could be getting, or just taken advantage of. Whereas like OnlyFans, like you can do whatever you want, whatever you're comfortable with, and it can work.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. It's interesting. I dated one girl that did OnlyFans in the past, and she said she made way more off of the like people asking for specific things versus like the subscriptions. Is that the kind of the same for you?
Yeah. Well, I feel like my content does really well based on like custom orders, or like pay-per-views. So I don't really post too much on my wall. I do more like pay-per-view kind of stuff, and we send out like like collabs that I do a lot of the time, or like the customs, because my industry is so kink driven that I have like some of the not weirdest, but some of the most interesting kinks, that come through my requests. So it's like very, very specific.
Oh yeah.
Like what? Can you share any of them?
Yeah. So I have one dude specifically, or a couple of dudes, where it's CEI, which is cum eating instructions. So they want me to tell them how I want them to eat their own cum. So it'll be like, oh, I want you to come into a dog bowl and lick it up like a fucking dog.
Holy
or I want you to hold up this picture of my little tiny dick and make fun of it and like tell me how fucking pathetic I am. Yeah, I've had like cream pie ones, but all they want me to do is just like cream pie myself with like whipped cream pie.
Really?
It's just really interesting. Like,
it's just what they're into.
Yeah, I don't get it. Even like the cuck one is a big one, where they want me and Jake to make fun of them, or like me to be on Jake and be like degrading him.
Interesting. I have heard this thing that a lot of like powerful people, like CEOs or like stuff like that, a lot of times they like to be dominated or stuff like that, because they're like their entire day for their business, they like have to run shit, they have to be in control, so they want to like let go of that control and have somebody else take control. Yeah,
I can definitely see that.
It's definitely true. I don't know too much of like what my subs do in their normal life, but I can imagine that not many people know like what they want behind the scenes. Even because I know there's a lot of them too that like even in their dating life they don't want to tell their partner like, hey, I'm really into feet, and you know, or I'm really into humiliation, or
they don't want to have that conversation, but they still have that kink.
Yeah,
they want to get it taken care of in some way, kind of thing.
Yeah, because there might be a worry of like, oh, what if this person thinks I'm weird for this, or they might just prefer their partner to be more, I don't know, it's just a different way. Because like for me, I'm very dominant, especially with women, or on my OnlyFans, I'm very dominant. But when it comes to me and Jake, like I'm very, very submissive.
Interesting.
So it's like a power dynamic too.
Yeah.
And when you guys first started dating, did you have any hesitation of her doing OnlyFans and how that made you feel?
Well, so this is new for me. Like I'm 100% a barber. Like that's what I've always done. Like I've been all over the world cutting hair. I love my barbershops, and I have never dated anybody that did OnlyFans. But what attracted me to her was like the reason why my past relationships didn't work out was because I want to be able to do what I want to do. I want to live my life the way I want to live. So when I saw her, I'm like, yes, this is the woman that I want. Someone that has confidence, someone that does whatever the fuck that she wants to do. Because in return, I know that I'm going to be able to like be a normal the way that I want to be. Like what I see as normal, like, hey, look, this girl's hot. Or like, hey, like, you know, not have to limit myself or like what I'm actually into. So for me, like it was all a plus, you know. And I told her that from the beginning. I said, hey, when, you know, if we're together, I want to encourage you, and I want to never stand in the way of you doing OnlyFans or making money or being the person that you want to be, because I don't want to be limited myself. So why would I limit you? So honestly, to God, like I'll come home and I'll hear her talking to her on her OnlyFans, like, you got a small dick, blah, 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 blah. Dude. But it doesn't do anything to me. It's just like, oh, like, I'd be like, hell yeah, babe. Like you got like that new sub, like you got like, or, oh, that's fucking crazy that dude wanted you to tell him that. Like, I don't know what it is inside of me that just doesn't bother me at all. Like, I don't, maybe it's the security that we have within our relationship, but it just doesn't, and it never has, and I don't see it ever bothering me. I mean, even when she goes to the shows and does like her booth setup with her clothing brand, dude, there's guys coming in, she'll be spanking them, spitting water in their face, and I'm just like, this is fucking sick.
You probably have the funnest.
Yeah,
I have the funnest
every time.
Yeah, and it's just cool to see like my person being themselves, and it's cool to see them, it's cool to see her like doing what she wants to do and not giving a fuck about like, you know, about what society says how we should live. Like for me, that's the most attractive thing ever to have in my partner, is someone that just like is who they are, does what the fuck they want to do unapologetically. So it's all a turn. It's not a turn on that she does OnlyFans. It's just a turn on that she lives the life that she wants to live.
I see. I think too, a lot of people are because I think it comes mostly from insecurity, but they're unable to separate sex and sexual things from like love or the relationship side of, hey, I actually care about this person. Yeah. So if she's at a booth spanking some dude, you know, it's not like she's like, oh, I'm so turned on and like, oh man, I'm falling in love with this guy. You know, oh, this is just fun. She's doing it for her booth, whatever. Like, she comes home to me, like, we're still good, you know? Like,
I guess I don't even process it like that. And I'm a crazy motherfucker, dude. Like, I'm not like, I'm about my shit, you know? So it's not like I'm like a pushover, like, but I just don't process it like that. It's just like, I don't know. It's hard to explain, you know, when you do have that security with somebody.
I think a lot of it too is just intent. Like, you know, neither of us is doing anything to hurt the other person. It's just like, we are who we are, and like, I love the fuck out of him and who he is, and he loves the fuck out of me, and it just should be that. And I think honesty too, we've talked about like, you know, being honest with your person up front, and him telling me like, hey, like, this is who I am, this is what I want, is like a big understanding.
And that's the thing, it's in the open. It would be different if you had this secret OnlyFans and nobody knows about it, and then he finds out about it, but you're like, look, this is what I do, take it or leave it. You're like, I'm cool with that. You're living your life, more power to you. So I think
it gives me leeway for sure. And it's also like, say if she's like on my phone and there's like a girl on my Explorer page or something like that, and it's like, she comes to me like, well, she doesn't, but if she did, it's like, hey, what is this? And I'm like, hey, let's reevaluate our situation. Like, you have understanding with me, I have understanding with you. So I think that's for me where it comes from. It's just like, it gives us a lot more leniency on like, she needs to be her person, I need to be my person, you know? So.
Do you mean in like an open relationship type of way?
We're definitely not an open relationship.
Okay.
But like, we're human beings, you know, like we're like, she is going to get satisfaction out of being at a booth and feeling like dominant over these guys and taking their money. And like, you know, like this, I'm a bad bitch and this is my brand and these motherfuckers are paying me money, and that gives her happiness. So obviously there's things for me that give me happiness, right? Like just being able to like, not have to worry about like, oh, hey, look, this girl's hot, you should collaborate with her. Or like, oh, she'll tell me, hey, do you think this girl's hot? Should we collaborate with her on OnlyFans? Like that's awesome to me, like that we have that security. And I didn't realize it till we were together that that's something that I really needed, was security with someone, like someone that's not on my back, you know, because I don't like to be told what to do, and like I don't like to feel like I'm like held down by anything.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I think too, it's like people nowadays, I feel like, have this need to control everything. Yeah. Instead of letting somebody be the way that they is and accepting they're the way that they are. And then if it's a good match, it's a good match.
Yeah.
If it's not, it's not. You know what I mean? And I do think it takes a level of security. I know. So like, I don't think it's insecure either way, as long as you know what your boundary is and you're honest about that. And both people are aware of it. So like when I dated the girl at the OnlyFans, she would get naked on OnlyFans. I was cool with that. I would not be secure enough to be like, you can fuck other dudes, right?
Yeah,
that would be where my line is drawn. And I don't think it's insecure either way. Like if somebody's like, oh yeah, my girl can fuck other dudes. Some people say, oh, you're not enough of a man, you need to like have this boundary. It's like, no, that's, if you're honestly secure with that and you're not doing it from a place of, this is my only way to keep this girl around, you know, then it's cool. And like, this is where my personal boundary is, you know. And then for me, it was actually almost like an ego boost a little bit, that like, there's all these guys out there that would pay money just to see a picture of my girl. Yeah. And then like, she's still my girl when it comes down to it at the end of the day, you know.
Even if it honestly would not bother me even if she did do nudity on her OnlyFans. That wouldn't bother me at all. She just chooses not to, but in my, I'm like, I don't, just be your person, you know. I would draw the line, you know, with other guys, but I would never shame anybody for that.
Yeah.
It's just all like your own boundaries, your own like whatever you're comfortable with. But it's having that discussion, like, you know, if that's what you want to do, like discuss that with your person, like, and if, you know, that is the route you want to go with your page, your OnlyFans, like whatever you're doing, your career, then you have to accept that, like, okay, maybe this person's not for me, or, you know, it's really all about communication.
Yeah, it is. And it's so easy to like, we're all liars. We all lie. And it's so easy to like lie to the person that you're with so they like you. And then a few years down the road, you're just like, I'm not myself. And you're causing so much resentment in your relationship because you weren't able to tell the person like, hey, this is me and this is what I like.
And I do think there's a big push nowadays. It's all about feelings and feeling better in the moment. I'm like, great. But like you were saying, it's like if you say, oh no, it's okay because you don't want to hurt their feelings, but really it bothers you, it's going to come out eventually. Maybe it's 3 months down the road where you build up enough resentment where finally you're like, fuck this. And they're like, you never told me this. Like you never communicated it.
And that's a good like opposite side to what we're saying too. Like, you know, with the other person is agreeing like, okay, that's fine, but they're not being honest with you about it. So that's a good perspective on it.
Because you're still, either way, you're going to build resentment. You're going to like start harboring that for that person if like you truly aren't okay with that. So it's like, you just have to be honest with your person and yourself about like what you really want in a partner. And, you know, whatever your lifestyle is, it's okay. There's going to be somebody who like fits into that, but you can't force somebody into it either.
It's just funny because you guys just look like you're made for each other.
Dude, it's crazy,
like,
dude.
The clone, like the male and the female version.
It's so weird, man. Like, you're saying that, but I mean, it's weird. Like, I mean, I'm 33, she's 32, and it's like we were just going through this life, you know, like we said, like parallel, and then we meet up, and it's like we just share a brain. It's the fucking most weird thing ever. Like, I feel so heard and understood, and I think that she could say the same thing because we do share like this weird, like, not only do we look like each other, we have like a lot of the same tattoos, but we just share like a right and left side of our brain. It's bizarre. It's really bizarre.
That is crazy. And the fact that it's like you met, blocked, and then somehow at the perfect time, broke up with your boyfriend, everything, you're single again, then Tinder randomly matches you guys up, and it's like, that's kind of crazy,
Yeah, exactly. And I'm locked in, it's crazy. I was always like, man, I'm just going to be single. Like, I work, like I'm an asshole, and like, I'm just, it's fine. Like, I fucking have ruined every relationship I've been in, but I realized like, yeah, like it was me. Like I did fuck up a lot.
Yeah.
Also, I just wasn't with the right person. Like the person didn't understand me. So instead of me like communicating that, I just fucking went self-destruct, So it's nice to be with someone that understands me, not just this person I want to pretend to be.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that he can be like truly his authentic self, because that's been really hard in my relationships, is like nobody's understood like why I do the things I do, like why I am the way I am, like, and let me be myself. And he's the first person I've been with where I've really felt like I can truly be myself. And not only that, but like be supported. Like he'll be at these festivals with me and like they'll be like, oh, I want to get paid to get like spanked or slapped. And he's like, yeah, you hit that motherfucker.
It's fun, man.
I can see it being fun.
Yeah, it's great.
You guys seem like you'd be a vibe to party with, for sure.
Yeah, we're a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Have you had exes that have tried to get you to stop doing what you do?
Yeah. Definitely that were like uncomfortable with what I do and like didn't say like, hey, I don't want you to do this, but like I could tell it wasn't.
It was bothering me.
Yeah, it was definitely bothering.
That makes sense. Yeah. Interesting. So I want to hear about your business then. So did you start off doing the more like influencer thing and then, I have a following now, I'm going to build a bunch of barbershops, or was it the reverse?
No, like I said, I'm 100% a barber, so it is kind of, it's kind of funny for my friends and my family that have known me for a long time to see me doing like all these funny skits with Angela. I've always kind of like dabbled in that, but when I started really coming up in hair, nobody was like, it's like Instagram started coming out and nobody was posting haircuts on Instagram. I'm like, hey, this is a great platform. Me, a couple other dudes started, putting out haircuts on Instagram, and that really caught, I think it's something special when you can catch a wave kind of like right before it starts to go. So me and a couple guys on there, we really blew up the barbering game from that platform. And then from there, I reached out to sponsors, got sponsored by some clipper companies. They sent me all over the world to educate for them. And then when I got done with that, I was like, I want to open up my business. I had been working for a barbershop for 5 years and had a lot of clientele. And it's the only thing I've ever done like where I'm actually good at this. Like I played music. I'm not really good at playing music, but barbering is the one thing that just like, whoa, I really fucking get this, So then I opened up my shop, and obviously right now the only way to really grow is to do social media. And so I started like posting videos of me like combing my own hair and shit, and those really blew up. And then since we've been together, like, I had like posted like a few like viral videos before, but when we got together, like our creative juices just like started flowing. And like I always wanted to like anybody else with like, hey, like we should do a TikTok together, and they're like, no, like girls are always talking to you on there. I don't want you to do that. But when we got together, she's like, yeah, like all we do is like, be a funny ass idea is if like we did this or we did that, and like we'll just be pumping each other up on how to do it. So when we met, it definitely like spiked like me wanting to do it more, and then seeing like all the benefits that come from it as well.
And yeah, that's the thing. It's like that's the best vibe if you have that power couple vibe where it's like, hey, you might meet somebody who's an influencer, you do something together, and then you're like, oh shit, I could work with that person too. And now it's like, oh yeah, let's all do one together, collaborate, and like you have that all going for you, working in the same direction, as opposed to somebody who's like secretly resenting you for wanting to work with somebody.
Or making me feel silly, or like I've definitely been made to feel silly, like why are you like you just like TikTok really like yeah. I'm like it's for my bit, and like I don't want to feel silly because I'm trying to go somewhere,
Yeah. Is it like in the barber industry, is it like, because most of those guys are like the very like manly men, like do you get a lot of kind of heat, not heat for it, but are they kind of like here TikTok guy, like, you know what I mean? They
might
like
say it behind closed doors, but
okay.
The life I live now is very different than before, where I will go to your barbershop if you're saying some shit like You know, like
the people that know him know like not to.
So they might say it like behind closed doors, but there's no one that's gonna be like saying that shit like publicly or to me, you know. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure they are, but I don't give a fuck, dude. It doesn't bother me at all, dude. You know, like. Yeah. But no, I still have like we throw barber battles and like hundreds of people come and I'm.
Oh no way!
Oh, dude, it's crazy. Yeah, like so I'm respected. Yeah, in the community for sure, man. I mean, I'm like.
He's like insanely respected in the barber community.
Yeah, so I mean, and at the end of the day, like. People only have an opinion if you let them. Yeah. But the fact that I could not give a fuck about what people say.
Well, also, I think now that you're successful, they're probably like, oh, shit, it worked. Like, even if at the beginning someone were like, what is he doing on this TikTok, Instagram? And then they're all of a sudden, you're like, yeah, now I have 4 shops. Yeah. I'm doing these barber battles. I have hundreds of people show up. You're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, and then it's funny because then people are like, oh, Jake, put me on. Like, how did you? And I'm like, no, like, you get jaded to a certain extent. Like, before I used to give out all my secrets. But now I'm like, man, like, you guys weren't seeing it then. Like, why the fuck am I gonna like tell you anything now on how to do it? Yeah. But I'm sure even some of my barbers like we'll pull up to the shop with like are like dudes who are like small people and then like their grandma that comes in like Ross and everyone and I'll bring a whole circus of crazy influencers into the shop and I'm sure like in the beginning the guys on my shop were like what is this guy doing, you know? But then they see like all the clients that come in from it and like all they're like, oh, I saw you on Ross's Snapchat or Angela's Instagram, and then they're like, okay, now I get why we're doing this.
Yeah, once they see the money then it's like, oh shit, yeah, this shit works.
Yeah, for sure.
Because we started bringing like influencers into the shop even too.
Well, she started. This girl, man, she's the shit, dude. Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just started like reaching out to like influencers that I know that I'm like, hey, like this person might work really well. Like their guy, maybe they want their haircut cut, and then like they make really funny skits. So it might not even be like their following is in the barber community, but I'm like, there's something there, and there's something we can do, and then we collaborate. We make like tons of videos all together, like between everybody's creative mind, and then it's good for us too to see like how other creators work because like it'll get us like out of our normal like, oh, this is how we have to shoot things, or like, oh, these are the audios we have to use, to where it's like, oh no, we can do like, oh, what about all these ideas, or they'll feed us ideas, and then it's just like a really good like creative outlet.
And when you guys have the post content and stuff, is it more of like when I'm creative I'll make something, or is it like a structured like, all right, Monday I wake up, boom, is it just kind of when it happens kind of thing?
Dude, if we don't want to, we won't do it.
No. We're so stubborn like that. Like if we're just like not feeling it, we'll be like, even if we had like an idea of like, oh, let's film content tomorrow, if we're not feeling it, we just don't
do it. But because we have other businesses. Like this isn't our end all be all, you know? Like if I'm like, I don't want to film anything, like I'll just go and like hunker down and bury my head into the barbershop, and she'll go bury her head into her clothing brand or her OnlyFans, you know? So it's not end all be all for us.
And then even on the days we do shoot content, we shoot so much that like we have enough to be able to space it out however we need.
I see. Yeah, it's interesting. You guys have diversified really well. Because I do know some influencers are like, I need to get 2 videos out today, every day. And they're just like, I'm like, man, that's like your life looks really cool on the like on your Instagram, but I'm like, man, this is a grind. Like at some point, it's like, is this fun anymore? You know, but you guys
no knock to that. Yeah, no knock to that. Sure. But I think I can speak for both of us when I say we want to only do what we want to do. Like I don't ever want to have a day where I doing something I don't want to do. I know that sounds unrealistic, but as many days as I can have that I don't do anything that I don't want to do is great for me.
Or just feeling like you have to do something, or like, I have to do this. Like neither of us like feeling like that. So very like, well, sometimes we have like structured weeks of like, okay, you know, like these days like Jake's cutting hair, and these days I have OnlyFans collabs. But like other than that, sometimes we're just like, all right, whatever we end up doing today, or we just take time off.
Yeah, but we'll keep it real with each other. I'll be like, oh, let's film this video, and then she'd be like, I don't want to film, and I'd be like, fine, whatever, fuck it, you know, like, you know. But normally our we ebb and flow with each other. Like if one person's not feeling it, the other person's like, yeah, I'm not either. Like it's kind of weird, like how that works.
You guys are clones of each other. You got the same brain.
Or I mean, sometimes too, like he'll be like, oh, let's film this video, and I'm like, and he's like, come on, just do it, like, and it'll blow the fuck up.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, like,
yeah.
at first, because she is a professional at creating content and super viral, she didn't quite trust like if I had an idea with things. And then over the over the first few months that we dated, she's like, okay, like maybe you do kind of get what we're doing.
No, there's a lot of ideas that we film that I'm like, I ask him for advice or like, hey, what do you think about this? And he'll be like, oh, maybe if you do it this way, and then it just makes the video so much better. Or like we go back and forth too of like, oh, what should we caption this? Or like, so we help each other out a lot. I've always been very stubborn and like, no, I know what I'm doing. Like I don't need anybody to tell me, but like Jake's definitely taught me they don't. And I need, not that I need to, but that,
straight out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, straight out of the comfort zone. Like try new things. Like, and all of our videos, just ever since we've been together, even like, though I've done very well for myself online, like it's done even better now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And a lot of things that are, although we are similar, we're very different in a lot of things. Like there's a lot of holes in my bucket that she helps me plug and vice versa. For me, it's like I'm good at like running a team and like shit like that, but I'm not very good at like with my money. Like I'm like I have like all these shops and all this cool shit, but I'm bad with my money. And she's fucking great with her money, but maybe she's a little bit lenient with the people that she hires. So I'm like, hey, like you got to fucking drill down on this, and then she'll tell me, hey, you got to fucking tighten your belt with your money situation. So it's just weird how it kind of like works like that between us,
Yeah, complementary skills.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that is interesting because the path of building a business is a very different skill set than creating content.
Yeah.
Insanely.
And I think there's a ton of people who got really good at creating content and they just don't understand how to monetize it, how to build systems, how to build a team, like this kind of things, you know what I mean? How did you figure out how to like build how did you go from one, or not even that, but just being a barber, to owning a shop, to then expanding to like 2, 3, 4 shops?
It's crazy. And this is my first podcast, so I've never really even like talked about, I don't really share my story or anything like that. Mm-hmm. I'm just obsessive, man. Like, it's I like the way my brain works, but I also hate it because, if I want to do something, like, this is not like bullshit. I'm not like, I'm fucking Mr. Grind Mode. Like, man, like I'm really obsessed with shit. So like with my barbershop, like I would just like all night, every day, like how the fuck am I going to learn how to lay flooring? How am I going to learn how to roll paint, how to do ceiling tile? Like, it's just like this weird obsession that like whenever I get something in my head that I have to do it. So basically just like YouTube, man, like I worked for someone and I learned everything from him, good, bad, ugly, like, helped him grow the business so I can like learn through his mistakes and then applied it to my shop. And then I could honestly say every waking moment from when I opened my business to now, it's like, how am I going to get better? Like, how am I going to save money to where I can open up another shop and elevate that location to this location? And now I have 4 of them with like ranging like 10 to 12 barbers in each shop. But I can honestly say just like obsession, man. Like I just really, really fucking wanted to do it. And I come from nothing. I grew up in foster homes and shit like that. So for me, it's like I want to provide for my son and like be able to like leave him something and rewrite my family's history, right? Like figure out ways where I can leave these to my sisters and like create something tangible rather than just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fucking do this like I don't know, like crypto shit or like, I wanted something you can actually feel and touch, that I can like present like, hey, like this is what I'm doing and what I have like accomplished.
Yeah, because that's the thing with crypto. It's like,
I don't know anything about crypto, by the way. I don't fucking know anything. It's like the one thing I can pull out of my ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I bought a little bit and I lost money and then I said, fuck it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying this is just shit that I hear from people. Like, and I'm always like, man, I'm such an idiot. Like, I don't know about crypto, man, or I don't know about this shit, And then these guys, they always seem like they're chasing something. And I'm like, fuck, man. Like, I got my feet planted where the fuck I'm at. Like, if you're on the internet and you see me, that's where I am. Like, it's not like, oh, he says he's doing this, but where is this guy?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, nah, like, where I'm at. My address is right there. Like, this is what I have. Like, it's not smoke and mirrors,
like, pull up, motherfucker.
Yeah, not even like that, but like, it's real shit, Like,
yeah.
It's like, this is what I say I'm doing and this is what I have,
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, I mean, crypto, some people just got lucky and they rode a wave, but the problem is they didn't build any skill set where you could go broke tomorrow and be like, great, I'm going to start it back from scratch. I know exactly what to do. I've ran this through 4 different barbershops. I'll start another one. And it's like, so you have the skill set that makes your wealth permanent. You know what I mean? Like nobody can ever take that away from you, the skill set wise.
Yeah, and that's what I tell my barbers too, which goes back to like the credibility thing. It's like, hey, like, because I'm never gonna be the guys like, I don't need you guys. Like I could do it without you. Like my team will be the first to vouch that I'm not like that. But I will say like my shops could all burn down, and tomorrow I could cut hair in my fucking bathroom and maintain the exact same lifestyle that I have right now, dope. Dude. You know, so there's no one, and I think that growing up, not to like be like a sob story, but I've always had shit taken from me. And I'm like, I want to set my life up to where nobody could take this from me. Like, no matter what the fucking cause is, like, I could pull up, like, hey, I'm behind this dumpster at 7-Eleven. I'll tell you right now, all my clients will pull up, you know, and I'll cut their hair, and no matter what, I'm going to be good off that.
Yeah. No, that's dope. That's definitely dope. What about the your fashion line? How did that start? The clothing line?
So, yeah, I mean, I'd been, like, modeling for, like, everybody. I wanted to create something for myself, and it's taken me a while to really find like what sticks for me and what works really well for the brand, because for at the beginning it was just kind of like, hey, I really like this like aesthetic and this style, and just kind of like throwing shit at the wall to like what sells, what doesn't sell, because clothing's such like a hard industry. Like there's so much you can do with it, there's so little you can do with it, and then it's like, what do you want your brand to represent? So my biggest thing was I want to represent bad bitches. Like I want to make good clothes for bad bitches, and like something that like represents myself. So it's taken a lot of work, but then through doing like the festivals, seeing like what my demographic is when it comes to like who buys my clothes, I really feel like I've fine-tuned like what I want it to represent and like what I want to put out. So it's, at first I started with like designs and like testing out graphic designers and like, oh, I like these ideas, but there was no like structure to it. There was no like, it was kind of just everywhere. And I give it like a very like Y2K vibe meets like gothy aesthetic, but I really started putting out and working on like more like funny sayings that like I feel like fit the brand and like the t-shirts. So like funny sayings on t-shirts. So I have, I think I have two like really, really good designs that have worked like crazy. Of a tank top design, and it says husband beater on it. It's like a play off of like the wife beater.
Yeah.
And then which that one kills it at the shows. Like husbands buy it for the wives, like everybody laughs about it, it's funny. And especially because like my booth is so out there, where we started doing like the whole spanking, slapping, stepping on people was like, I did the gathering of the juggalos. And we started doing $5 deals where it was like, hey, pay $5, get spanked, slapped, stepped on, or we'll spit in your mouth. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Gathering of the Juggalos. It is the craziest event anyone can ever go to in their life. There's no rules. There's people selling every kind of possible drug with like cardboard signs out there.
It's like a Burning Man type of vibe.
But how would I describe it?
It's like a monster truck show meets a fucking Burning Man.
Yeah.
Like it's like, do you know what juggalos are, or like insane?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's all like the juggalos, and I've never been, but this is her for.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
There's dicks out. There's titties out. I saw a girl masturbate with a pole, umbrella pole on stage, it was a talent contest, and her talent was squirting. So that's just like a little bit. Yeah,
it's awesome.
It's just like the craziest event you can ever be at. So it was a perfect place to test out this whole $5 deal thing, and then like that translated into the rest of the festivals. And I was like, why not do this at all the festivals? Like, why not be like the craziest booth with the hottest goth alternative girls out? Because that's all I have work for me is women. And it's like the most female empowerment booth. Like we get girls coming over who are like, oh yeah, we've designated this as our safe like meetup spot, or like, you know, we've never felt so included, and it's like a very inclusive booth. And then with like all this types of people want, like, people at festivals want to wear like funny shit. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Want to wear like funny t-shirts. Like one of the other ones I have, it says, I'm not a dog trainer, but I know a bitch when I see one.
That's good.
And so just like really honing into that, I feel like that's like the move that I've like made with my brand, and like where I want to stick. And I guess in a sense it's like a female assholes live forever kind of vibe.
I see. Yeah.
But
yeah, it seems like you developed your brand on the social media thing, and then you figured out and cut your chops on branding and what people want and XYZ. And then so going into clothing, it's like you already have those skills built. You're kind of just transferring it to the clothing side of things.
Yeah, which it's been a learning curve because like for me, owning a business isn't like something I'm like very used to or normally do.
You went the reverse direction.
Yeah,
Like you went,
literally. And I can create content all day. It comes really easy for me. But this has been a very big learning curve. But it's nice because it gets me out of like my comfort zone, my normal way of thinking. It's helping me grow. Like it's building something. And earlier last year, I actually got into Zoomies with the brand too.
Oh, nice.
So being able to like get into these stores that I went to as like a kid, like
that's crazy. Yeah.
After I got like the meeting and everything and like got approved for everything, like I cried. Because
how did you get that meeting? Because everybody always talks about, you know, on Shark Tank and everything, like even just getting a meeting with anybody at a big brand is like so hard.
So I got really lucky. One of my friends, he owns this company called Helen Company.
Okay.
He had designed a couple pieces for me, and I guess he had a meeting with Zoomies. And he was like, hey, here's their contact. Like, I'm also emailing them too. And then we both got in at the same time. And I think what really helped me, to be honest, is like my social media.
Oh, I'm sure that helps.
Because it helps a ton because, you know, you see your favorite influencer's brand is in like a Zoomies or like a retail location. Like you want to go support. That helps them too because, hey, maybe people forgot about Zoomies. Maybe people forgot about like, you know, what's in there and people just going into the malls, checking out new brands. Like, and I know they're trying to get new eyes and new brands into their stores.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like people could say, oh, you got lucky because you got this meeting with Zoomies. You happen to know this guy who knew blah, 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 blah. But it's like also you put in the work for years to build a social media following, to understand branding, to do all these things. So then when you actually got the meeting, it actually led to something instead of them saying, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Get out of my office. You know?
Yeah.
So it's people don't see the hard work that leads to the overnight success. You know?
They don't. They're just like, oh, you got the meeting. It's like, well, technically anyone can try to get a meeting. You can email, you can send your portfolio over, like whatever the case is. But like, it's so much more than luck. Like, and I mean, I'm a firm believer too. And like a lot of the stuff is like who you know or being there in the right time or, you know, I do feel like I'm a very lucky person though at the same time too. I'm just like, all these opportunities come to me because like, I feel like I manifested, I speak it into existence. Like the beginning of like last year, I had written in my like manifesting journal, I'm going to get into Zoomies, Hot Topic, or Spencer's. Like,
damn.
And I every month was like, I'm going to get into there.
That's crazy.
So it's just like believing it.
It's very powerful. Like neither one of us are very like real like spiritual or anything, but we're both like decided that with the lives that we have, we've created this shit in our head since I was like a kid. Like I'm gonna be tatted, barber, fucking hot ass wife, girlfriend, you know. And she's like, I'm gonna be a fucking the most famous tattooed model on Instagram and have my brand. So it's something we're not too like super into it, so I can't speak too much on it. But we'll take like baths and like meditate and like we'll like really like think about like. We'll sit there and for like 30 minutes in a hot bath, just like thinking about like, you know, how much money that we want to make, what we want to do with our brands. And then we'll talk about it and then hold each other accountable for it. And it's a big part, even before we, like when we first started talking, like, I'm like, hey, this might sound weird, but like, this is like what I do. And she's like, that's exactly the fuck that I do. And then we both try to stay positive, you know, where we're just like, oh man, like luck is always on my side, or, you know, like, you know, or she'll start like maybe doubting something. I'm like, nah, fuck that. Like, that's not how we think, you know, like we're fucking winners. And no matter what, like if that door closes, because two more is going to open.
Yeah. Because the second you start putting like that energy into negativity, into like negative self-talk, into like, it just takes away from anything. And the more you're like, you talk yourself up, you say like, I'm going to do this. Like you speak that shit into existence. Like it is going to happen. And I've seen it to like an insane amount.
As long as you apply that pressure, you know, you can't just
you can't just like sit there and like, okay, I'm gonna get $1 million tomorrow.
That's my
like,
big
fuck.
Not beef with the whole manifestation thing, but there's just so many people I know that are like, oh, I'm manifesting, and they don't even do like the first step of the work. And I'm just like
it's
okay,
not gonna
cool,
come.
manifest, but then like go fucking work 12 hours now to fucking make your dreams happen.
I more
like,
feel like what's ever happened to me, it's like I'll say, hey, like perfect example. I'll be like, hey, I really want, like, I'll be manifesting, like, I really want a barbershop, my business, for them to respect me. I'm gonna be respected. And then I lose my entire staff. And I'm like, what the fuck? This is the opposite of what I wanted. And then all of a sudden, new people start flowing in. I'm like, and they respect me. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, So I feel like not only it's you're not like wishing, like rubbing a magic lamp and it appears. It's like the universe is going to give you tools and say, hey, here's the tools to build this. Now you fucking put the work in. You ask for this. It's not going to fall in your lap, but here's the tools, and then you do the rest with it.
And it's like, yeah, everybody left, but maybe they had to leave. So
they did, yeah, exactly.
Right people in there, and then it ends up being way better in the long run.
Which I'm sure is the same as you. You're having a lot of success in your podcast, but you're probably like, I'm gonna have a fucking badass podcast. I'm gonna get the sickest motherfuckers on here, right? And then I'm sure like maybe these mics or the lights, I'm sure probably something popped up, and you're like, holy fuck, like that's exactly like what I need to get my podcast started, So the universe didn't just plop this awesome shit in your lap. It's like, I'm sure the things started lining up. Maybe you had someone hit you up like, hey, I heard you started a podcast, like, let me be on it. And that was like your one break, but you had to put the work in.
Yeah, it's very much like, I believe how manifestation works in the kind of metaphysical sense. And I'm a very like logical person, so I'm not super into like the universe, stuff like that. But I think it's just like, you think about shit enough, when something happens, that's an opportunity, then you notice it because you've been thinking about it. And so it's not that thinking about it makes it happen. It just makes you notice every small, tiny opportunity, and then you jump on it. And then on top of that, you're so motivated because you've been thinking about it the whole time. And I think that's kind of how it plays out usually.
You like find a way to make it happen. Like, if you start speaking something, because like if you don't, I don't know, I'm also a firm believer in like writing things down. Because, like, it's easy to forget things. It's easy to forget, like, with the hustle and bustle of life, like, oh, yeah, I wanted to do that. Or, like, oh, I wanted to make that happen. But then you forget about it. But if you keep, like, continuing to write it down, keep speaking about it, like, and keep making the steps to make it happen, it is going to happen.
100%.
Persistence. I've had so many people, like, no, you're not ready. Like, you're not, like, even, like, just, like, starting to open a business. I had someone who I respected who owned a tattoo shop. He told me every reason why I shouldn't open a barbershop. And I'm like, oh, fuck, that scared me. I waited 2 more years, But I think just, when someone tells you, Jake, you can't do that. It's like, motherfucker, maybe you can't do it, but I can. Like,
yeah.
like I don't I don't care what's possible for you, dude. Like, that shit, maybe it's not possible for you, but it's possible for me. And, like, watch me do this shit,
Yeah.
So I kind of like when I'm doubted in that sense, like, where it's like, no, that's not possible. Like, shit, it's not possible for you, but it's possible for me, dude. So
yeah. Sometimes haters are the best motivators,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, guys, we are about out of time. It's been very fun. Would you guys like to give a shout out to any Instagram, TikTok, website, stuff like that?
Well, you can follow me on Instagram at Angela_Mazzanti. You can pretty much find all my social media on there. So yeah, just Google me.
Awesome. How about you, Jake?
Don't Google me. I don't got anything on Google. No, you can get on my Instagram. Really, if you want to plug in, Angela and I this year, we're going to really be focusing on her OnlyFans and building that. So that's mainly where we want you guys to go, to our businesses and then her OnlyFans.
OnlyFans.com/Angela Mazzanti VIP.
Awesome. Well, this has been fun, guys. Thanks for watching.